Disclaimer! For the first time, and probably the only time I will be doing something like this, this overall review is based around yours truly, talking about a program that was loosely inspired by a popular gothic tabletop role-playing game that's been very popular for a number of years. And for many different reasons, I will be using terminology from said game, where you may or may not need some behind-the-scenes information for terminologies, for different things that go into mechanics, and just beautiful people across the board, including how I mess up this wonderful man's name of Jason Carl. Mostly because I'm recovering from heat stroke and probably dying of heat sickness that probably took my life 7 different ways to Sunday as of last week into this week. So if you need any sort of information beforehand, do not worry. I have placed a dossier of links in the description below for you to know about clans, for you to know about terminology, and about a few different examples of games that truly do understand the assignment for Vampire the Masquerade, which is what this whole thing is loosely based around, within the world of darkness from White Wolf Productions. Well, White Wolf Publishing, but semantics, am I right? Anywho, on with the video. I'm gonna pass out now in my chair.
Now, who could that be? Good day, and how may I help?
It's like a kindred disease, this hopeless.
I know that this is my destiny. I was at my lowest, he saw the best of me. All of my doubts are the rest in peace. Buried them deep, then I let God come work with the rest of me. Yes, I am blessed, never stress, disconnect from all my demons. They can never get the best of me. Truly blessed to be a...
Hello, my fellow nomads, party people, and strangers everywhere across the digital landscape. God, I haven't done that intro in so long. Welcome to Nomadic Reviews. So this is gonna be me doing the same topic for 2 different videos for 2 different reasons. And that's me going over a show that Fox made in 1996 based around a now uber popular tabletop game by the name of Vampire the Masquerade, but the show itself is known as Kindred the Embraced. Kindred the Embraced is some people say supernatural drama, urban gothic television show. I would like to honestly say it is a soap opera with vampires, so vampiric soap opera that ran from April 2nd to May 8th, 1996.
How the fuck?
With a total of 8 episodes, one that never really aired on networks, this was a program that was pretty much trying to push the game to the non-informed during the 2nd edition of Vampire the Masquerade. Vampire the Masquerade has a deeper history that I will get into in future videos for other things I'm going to be doing on other channels. But that is a story for another day. So this overall show, many people have gone on record to say that this is loosely based off of the TTRPG, and it shows where many fans as of now are like, wow, this whole thing sucked. And I agree, as someone who has played VTM on his own time to do his own thing. It is dry, it is uninspiring, it is, quite frankly, a dull mess of dry acting. Which is even worse when you find out that, aside from 1 episode that was never aired, there were 2 episodes that were scripted but never filmed because the show ended up getting canceled May 9th in 1996 when they only had 7 episodes publicly made. That's why I was saying about the whole thing about one episode being unaired, and we're gonna get into why I personally feel like it was in every single capacity and every single segment that you guys know I am well versed in. And do I sound very sassy in the opening? Probably, but that's mostly because of a lot of heat sickness, and I am recently coming out of a very, very big medical scare, and I am terrified. So my overall nervous system is on a weird, weird level, and I deeply apologize on so many levels. Let's get started. I get it. The plot of Kindred follows the journey of Frank, full name shown on the screen right here, following after a alleged group of mafiosos that are going through a gang war.
Did you think you could go to war with me, Eddie Fiore?
I know, shocking. Gang wars in San Francisco, perish the thought. Where our main antagonists from Frank's perspective are these mafiosos that are actually the Bruja that are having a gang war with the Gangrels, who are led by a Ventru vampire by the name of Julian Luna.
I don't know how you held the clans together all those years.
Frankly, that is still just, a dumbass fucking name for a guy that literally looks like he had the anime haircut. May the actor rest in peace. So, what is the actual story when it's not from a human perspective? Because frankly, the narrative does not matter from Frank's perspective. In actuality, the plot goes from how we're looking at it from the pilot to be something completely different. From the pilot, it looks as if Julian Luna wants to do certain things that involve making sure San Francisco never has the Masquerade broken so that the Kindred are exposed to humans. Much like how it is in the actual TTRPG that you guys will find about more of the mechanics in the description below for a lot of the things for gaming mechanics, how the certain clans work, and all the different terminologies that I'm laying out in this video. So, frankly, we are focusing more on the prince, which is Julian Luna, where you wouldn't even know he's Ventru from how the plot weirdly goes about things. We'll talk about that more in the writing. And then it's more or less, how is the inciting incident handled? Well, from this character, who I mistakenly called Leah in a future video, coming out in just a matter of days, y'all. Alexandra is the inciting incident that brings forth Frank and Julian more in a connective tissue, to where we're more or less looking at something that could have been the precursor for Hunter the Reckoning, with Frank having the blueprints for a hunter that would have honestly destroyed the Kindred in San Francisco to breed forth something interesting that really would have gone the testament of time for everything, with Julian Luna on the back foot for a lot of things that would have been a beautiful power struggle. Which got super sidetracked the moment we introduced a female love interest for Julian Luna that came in the form of a reporter, which bore fruit to a reporter mafia-ish character dynamic that honestly didn't bear enough fruit with audience members to look forward in any capacity for the plot to be any sort of interesting, which is going to be a inciting issue behind why this show did not last super long. Then again, who am I to judge where every time I do a review, my favorite word to say is overall. Anyway. Alright, let's get into characters. Frankly, the only two to talk about, the only two that really deserve to be talked about are the prince and the human. So let's talk about Julian Luna. From the episodes I've been able to scour and watch, because I had to watch 3 in order to get this whole thing started, I will be watching the other videos for my retrospective in the works, do not worry. Everything that goes into Julian, because of how poorly things are delivered for line reads and whatnot, it kind of pushes less and less of a cohesion about who Julian actually is and why he does this stuff, because the way they keep pushing things from the pilot and other episodes in the way lines are delivered, you would be mistaken into thinking that he's a Bruja, when later down the line you find out that he is a Ventru. And Ventru are the more typical clans that people in Vampire the Masquerade would probably associate with other sort of people in power. But the way it's delivered, sometimes because of how the Bruja are in these nice suits, they're known as the Mafia, they do stuff for a Mafia push, you would be very easily mistaken to believe that all of the people in great suits are Bruja. Whatever that means. So, all of this stuff in the third thing kind of makes Julian a very unsteady character on many different levels, mostly because he's not really that interesting out of every prince that has come through various forms of media. Like, you could probably go to YouTube and find many different things on how to make a VTM campaign with a very compelling prince. I also have a best friend who goes by the name of Valkyrie Ash Ray, usually known as Valkyrie Ash Corpse. Wonderful person who also runs a VTM campaign that has been very prevalent behind closed doors to make a very interesting prince overall in their own setting. There are numerous people that have run a VTM campaign that are choice to showcase how to make a very interesting prince. So when you have people that run tables that have more of a comprehension to what you're doing, a loosely inspired base material character of Julian feels very lackluster and therefore disinteresting. But the same could also be argued over Frank. Frank being a human detective that's just looking into all these different things to stop Julian Luna, but also trying to help Julian Luna, to then do more stuff to harm Julian Luna, to then expose everything about the Kindred, to then also keep the secrets of the Kindred, but then do certain stuff to stop other Kindred, to then go back to helping Julian, who he hates overall and wants to kill Julian Luna, to then go back into hating Julian Luna, to want to do more stuff with the police department, to go against Julian Luna, even though he already knows the only person keeping him safe and from harm and danger of other Kindred is Julian Luna. So, this whole up and down thing on the Venn diagram is not fun, nor is it interesting. Because Frank could have been a lot of things, I will address that in a future video, and he could have been way more interesting if the plot was more interesting. And I know there are other characters I could talk about, like a human journalist by the name of Caitlin Byrne, or the leader of the clan Toreador, or about Sasha Luna, Julian Luna's great-great-great-granddaughter, or about a member of the Gangrel clan who ends up dating Sasha by the name of Cash, or Daedalus, Mr. Clean's dirty-ass cousin of Mr. Dirty, or any of the other people around the block, for all things to be considered. But none of them really stand out other than just being exposition dumps, or pipe lays, or just being flavors of the screen time. Not really characters of note, but flavors of the screen time. A terminology I've kind of developed for just, you need to add more sauce and or a different side to a scene or to a bit of dialogue, so you make a flavor of the scene. A character that just pushes things enough in the narrative to where you're going to have a satisfactory conclusion for yourself as the writer, but not the audience. Flavor of the scene. Because that's all every other character feels that isn't trying to push the overarching drama that is this quietly, probably more homoerotic coded affair between Julian and Frank. Because at this point, I'm just like, hold on, where is that one clip from Tristan in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged?
Just f*** already!
The amount of utility you are getting out of these flips is kinda nuts. But is it hard? Yeah.
So the writing. The writing is probably the worst I've ever seen from Fox in a very long time. And that's saying something given what Fox has produced and released to the public, knowing damn well they ain't got any business releasing anything this shitty. Hey, Modern Family Guy. So, how bad is the writing? Well, let's take a small glimpse into the writing for episode 3, for example. We're looking into an episode where the Nosferatu, this fucking twin brother of Mr. Clean, known as Mr. Dirty, is trying to fall deeply in love with a lady just from vocal performance alone, to where he's a very tragic and torn being, where he feels like he can't be with anyone because he is an ugly soul, despite the fact that the makeup department makes him look like this. Meanwhile, we're just supposed to focus on a different person who was recently embraced, to go over the frenzied appeal that comes from individuals that don't really have a coven or even a coterie to go and kind of get some guidance for. They just go way off the deep end, which should be more interesting, but it doesn't really feel interesting. It just feels like it's padding to go forth into a soap opera that has no real meat to it, because we later get scenes that's just talking about how this lady saw that this albino-looking Mr. Dirty is just a black-eyed, ugly creature despite just having weird earlobes and is bald.
What the fuck? You know what?
So frankly, the writing... frankly, the writing doesn't really, in any episode, conveys why we, the audience, should care about any of the drama, any of the stakes, any of the problems that are kind of flooded throughout the narrative. And that's really a shame on so many different levels. Why? Because we're supposed to be invested in why all of these incidents are happening. The world of Vampire the Masquerade is littered with so many different hallmarks of different squabbles, different faction battles, different clans at war all the time, where this could have been great if handled better in its overarching narrative, where also if the show had a different leaning on the events, that maybe it could have came back if Julian Luna's actor did not sadly pass away roughly in 96, 97. This could have been remedied, but with how they shelved it and didn't think about maybe doing a better run at it with a different location, different title, and different plotting altogether, it just kind of flummoxed. Now it's just sitting on the shelves as so campy, it's just nauseating. It's not so bad it's good, it's just so campy it's nauseating. Which is not at all meaning that it is good, it just means whatever the fuck you think it means. It's not great at all, by any stretch.
Looking for peace in America. Looking for peace when I stare at you. Looking for peace in America. Looking for peace when I stare at you.
Look, you guys know I'm a music lover. Music is one of my favorite things. Like, if you've seen any of my segues that I've done for each and every transitional piece, for any video I have been doing ever since, I think, 2019, y'all know I love some good fusion of music with how to do stuff in a scene, or even doing stuff in nice little edits to show off some stuff. But when you're putting in a jazz, blues, and even some slight classical-based musicality for your shit that doesn't feel like it has the energy or even the vibes to sell why I, as a audiophile, should be engrossed and paying attention to what you do, I feel like you failed the assignment in how to be a better person for show development. Maybe trying to have it where every clan has their own specialized music would have been better. I'm just saying, would have probably have pushed things a lot more, I'd say, personally, to make me feel more invested. Like, let's try an example. Like, let's have, Julian's clan, the Ventru. Let's do something like this. Now let's have a moment with the gang rules. Like, have this guy. And we're gonna just use something like this. Having it where the tone matches what you're trying to sell would have been so much better, but I don't feel nothing. Hell, even for the Toreador, there's nothing very sensual with it. Like, let's just put on some Leon Thomas with a Toreador real quick. Am I demonetized for this? I don't fucking know. I don't make any goddamn money thus far with YouTube anyway. But I digress. You could do so much more to sell your product, and so far the music is just as boring and bland. How do you do stuff that makes your product worse and worse in each category, Fox? What is wrong with you?
Do you want the long version or the short version?
This is the moment you all have been waiting for. This is the moment you all have been waiting for.
Overall, let's be honest. Kindred the Embraced is not a good program. It's not even a so bad it's good show. It's good for riffing, maybe, with friends, which I might do if I were to get my YouTube channel to, like, I don't know, 1,100 subscribers. I would honestly sit down and get my twin of Devil May Bloom, my good buddy of Seabass the Mighty, my bestie of Valkyrie Ash Ray, and a few other people where we would just be doing an entire live stream where we would roast the fuck out of the entire show from the first episode to the 8th episode happily. And if people want to try to go into the comment section later down the line and be like, hey, you reached so-and-so, it's time to finish what you started, I'll just let all the people know and we'll go with it. That is just how egregiously bad this whole thing feels, where you have to make a milestone to try to finish a product that you have no real interest in. And frankly, that is the point I'm trying to make. Nothing about a program should make you feel this way, especially if it's coming from an IP that has so much love to it. It goes to show more and more that I, as a person, am not really giving this show its due diligence or the air quotes professional respect, because I'm dragging it more in the overall segment, if not the entire video itself, because I don't feel as if the writers, the producers, the directors, or anyone behind the scenes really cared about the material that they were lightly lifting from. Granted, it is loosely based off of the World of Darkness. And yes, this was during 2nd edition where the developers were trying to do more things with the IP. They were doing more things with adding the clans, adding more intrigue into the cosmology. As a game developer myself, aspiring, but still, I understand why people would want to be like, let's test this out, maybe get more traction going, blah, 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 blah. But Fox definitely did not care. It is highly prevalent. They could not give a shit. And if we were to be honest, I would rather have the show revived by Jason Carl of VTM fame, and even YouTuber Count Jacula to be in charge of a revival, maybe even do an entire reboot from scratch, using the clans that we know today, covering various steps here and there, pushing forth for a better material for what could be an amazing adaptation. You have so many beautiful stories to pull from, wonderful locales, get some great set locations picked out, and you will be amazed what you yourself can do for a story such as this. I'm just stating the obvious for many individuals that will be going into the field saying, I want to do this, I need to do this because blah, 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 and I want to adapt something that I enjoy. Do not do what Fox did for VTM, because this is the opposite of a love letter. This is a hate manuscript in the eyes of the fans, And that's probably what led to the show being canceled the way that it did. From low viewership, from lack of intrigue, and people not really resonating to what they were trying to push. And I can't really be like, hey, I feel bad for them. I wanted them to succeed. I don't. Because when I don't feel heart in what you're producing, I don't feel your soul being poured into whatever to be as brilliant as it could be, why should I care? Like, really, why should I personally care? And the thing is, I don't. I truly, truly do not. And that in and of itself is probably why I will just go into the ratings as is. So for the ratings for all of the videos I have access to at present, because at the time of this recording, I just got access to all 8 episodes that were filmed, directed, produced, and set for release. I will just give Kindred the Embraced, the one and only season, the following rating scores. From 0 to 13, I am going to award the show a 4.2 out of 13 for writing, for directmanship, for how the actors were led on set, for everything involving just the day and night shots in general, and how music was conducted. For the alphabetical ratings from F all the way to triple S, I am going to award the show a D-. It doesn't warrant an F because the actors at least tried with material that they had, but it's a tough sell when even you can't bring a good ambiance or flow to what you are given. You, the actor, have to give something to elevate the source material that you are working with and the script work that you have to really force through something that will be spectacular to make your whole career a standout performance from what you are placed in. That is integral. And from a 0 to 7 star report, we're going to be giving this whole thing a score of 2 out of 7 stars. Where I would probably say, unless you really want to rip into this show or just have fun with friends, skip this. It is not worth the headache. It is not worth the drama. You can just skip it. No one would be upset. No one would want the smoke. Just skip it. It's fine. It is more than fine. And that's it. Kindred the Embraced came out in 1996 for a whopping 2 months before Fox swept it under the rug. I didn't know about the show until Maven of the Eventide talked about this show a couple of years ago, and I've been putting this off for many, many years, because the way she made it sound, it was like, oh, it's just a very, very weird soap opera. What is the damage that's truly there? And then I actually watched it, and I've regretted it ever since. Good God. So, from that whole front, and then all the Vampire the Masquerade fans, whether you're a fan of the video games or just the TTRPG itself, if you guys end up hating this show, it's not because I hate it. Like, honestly, if you want to watch it yourself, I'm not your parents. I'm just giving you my personal rating for stuff where you guys could probably love it, and I missed out on all the love for it. Or you hate it, and you want to tell me why you hate it. We all have varying opinions, because opinions are like assholes. We all have one. So, with that whole thing out of the way, I still have a marathon of After Hours Reviews episodes I have to do for you guys, but first things first, to prepare for the next Marauders Reviews episode, where there's actually not 1, not 2, but 3 that I have in store for all of you. But one of them I personally did is coming out this August. So until then, let me just try to, I don't know, let me just take out my computer in the sun and see if it will burn every single file of Kindred the Embraced to just purify this. Because I swear to God, if Kane comes back to life because of my computer, I'm gonna kick his... Boy, you crazy!